It's Peep Code. We're watching Ryan Singer build a user interface from scratch. In part 1, he sketched through several problems on paper. In this video, he'll assemble a prototype with HTML and CSS. After watching this video a few times, we learned some things that might not immediately be obvious. So look for these techniques throughout the next hour. First, focus on one UI element at a time. Just as he asks specific questions for each step of the paper prototyping process, Ryan implements a specific part of the markup before moving to the next one. It's easy to become distracted with all the things that need to happen in a user interface, so staying focused is important. Second, use the most efficient tool for each task. Sometimes Ryan uses Photoshop to mock up a design, and sometimes he goes straight to HTML and CSS. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but you might find that one is easier or faster for a specific task. Pay attention to your personal pain and whether you wish you were working graphically or textually. Third, prototypes are quick and dirty, so don't be afraid to use dirty coding techniques if it helps you see the results more quickly. I was shocked to see him use inline CSS styles in the markup until I realized why. Inline styles are all about this element at this spot right now. Writing CSS in separate files makes you think about organization and how things are reused and whether or not you can extract similar functionality into higher level classes. It's more important that a prototype be easy to change quickly than that it be organized. Prototype code isn't the foundation for the final implementation. It's only the ideas that you discover while building the prototype that are important. This is Peep Code play-by-play. We won't stop to explain every technique, but we will show important quotes and links on the screen. Pause or rewind if you want to hear something again or see how it was done. So moving over to the computer, how would you go about starting this kind of thing? Do you start with some kind of prototype, just static HTML? Do you jump right into, or you mentioned Photoshop?
Right. I actually like, I actually prefer to be in a Rails app as much as I can be, just because I get certain things for free. If I spin up a raw Rails 3 app, I'm going to have SCSS magical compiling happening for me. I can use POW to serve up what I'm working on, just on whatever, riderpicks.test or whatever, or .dev. I have a proper place to put my templates, even though I only have a couple to start. I can make something a partial and then throw it empty array of 6 elements or something if I want to loop it 6 times, or I can do logic. You know what I mean? Like, all those things are available to me, and all of them save me time. And doing boilerplate Rails is so easy that that's usually what I'll do. Let's actually just do that.
Okay.
I might actually need your help if I run into anything that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because you're the programmer.
Sure.
And what happens is I usually kind of, depending on, being on a loaner computer, I don't know what's going to work exactly and what's not. I have an apps directory for just my own stuff. So I should actually be able to do something like Rails, let's call it riderpick. Let's see if it does stuff. No. Maybe are the Rails new is that how it works now? Okay, Rails new, riderpicks. This is always how it is. I always have to monkey around. Yeah.
Well,
I never remember how to do the specifics of anything. It's always like, the HTML and some of those things I know, but with Rails it can be a monkeying around process. But actually, hopefully, this just works, and I should be able to just go into my POW and do this, and I should be able to start this thing up, I would expect now, right? Shouldn't I expect it to work now? Is that reasonable?
Yeah, you should see, welcome to Rails.
Dev. funny. Sometimes I have to tell Chrome to really try.
Oh, there you go.
Good.
So mostly you'll use Chrome for development debugging.
I used Safari for years and years, and then Chrome is faster. And I with Lion, somehow I started to lose a little bit of loyalty to Apple. Interestingly, I had this feeling of loyalty pulling me along with Safari all these years, and then enough things were kind of wonky with Lion that I was like, oh, screw it, I'll try Chrome. And then I tried it, and it's a lot faster. I just like it. I like a lot about it, actually.
And you still get the web inspector and all that.
Totally, yeah, it's great. I really like it a lot. Good. Okay, so my app is working, I want to think about. I'm going to work on this screen. And I want to think about what it is that I'm actually making here from a data perspective. I think that I'm creating. I think there's one model we didn't talk about. We talked about users, and we talked about users, and we talked about riders, right? But we didn't talk about picks, right? So I'm just gonna like remind myself right now. I've got users, right? I have riders, and I have picks. And actually, this is an index of riders, sort of. You could also maybe say it's not exactly an index of riders. It's because it depends on what's been picked and what's not. So maybe it's an index of candidates, right?
Okay.
This is sort of an index of picks. In a way, when I hit this action, I'm creating a new pick. You know, this on a member, when I'm kind of saying that this is... So I don't want to worry too much about how this is modeled, because I think a programmer might know better than me, but I do feel comfortable enough to say that this is like, somehow this screen is actually like picks new. I feel okay with starting there.
Okay.
Can I just do like Rails generate controller picks? I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually not in the app. Let's go in there. Generate controller picks.
Fast typist.
It's an important basic skill. If you're going to program all day, if you're going to work on computers, you better learn how to type.
Yeah.
When I see people who can't touch type, I hold my head, I have to say, in our industry. You know, if you can't touch type, I really hold my head when I see that. Okay. So I've got picks set up, and when I'm going through riders, I might like to have a sort of, I might like to have like one of these when I'm going through here. If I don't, I'm not going to bother to think too hard about like these are actually riders as candidates or something like that. I'm not going to, but I might like to have something like that. So I'll keep that around. Why not? So I'll actually just generate riders too. It's also interesting, the way this is set up right now, this is also happens to be functioning like a user's new, because this is the process of creating a new user. You know what I mean? Like it ends with supplying your email address.
Right.
But I think in terms of the sort of concerns, users new is a little bit more like this partial that appears at the end. It's not, you know, I think somehow I'm just imagining. Very often, I'll imagine an implementation that is reasonable enough that it would work, and then the programmers will have better ideas. But I'm kind of imagining right now that when I hit this, I'm going to have a new user, and I'm going to be attaching picks to that user, and then if they bail, we can garbage collect that later.
Okay.
And then when they kind of provide their email address, we'll finalize the user creation somehow. So I don't. This thing could actually be submitting to users create, I could imagine. But there's enough that I'm not sure about there that I'm not going to worry about talking that through too much. I'm just going to like build some stuff, you know, because we can move things.
Right. It definitely is a composite. There's a lot of data happening. But
yeah. And it feels a little bit arbitrary. Which one is the sort of parent of it all?
Uh-huh.
You know, like which one is king here? You know, I don't really know. It's just these things are related. So as long as I have a couple routes and I can start putting some templates in different places, I have a place to start. Usually it's actually much more clear than this. You know, if you were managing, if we were working on the screen that the administrator uses to actually create all these riders such that other people can pick them,
Yep.
that would be so simple, because then clearly it would be a riders new and riders index and riders show and stuff like that, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, but in this case it's not as clear. Do you happen to know if what I need to do in order to get routes? Do I just have to go into here and tell it? I think I might have to declare them
believe
here.
it should-
It doesn't give them for. Maybe it gives them for free if I generate the models.
Oh, you're right. Or if you do scaffold, then you get them. But
yeah.
then- okay.
Yeah. I'll just do. I can just do resources rides, right? Oh, but this is going to expect me to have the models too, isn't it? Is
I
it?
don't think so. I
Does
think
it
you
care?
can get by without that.
I wonder if it's going to care or not. I've got riders. I've got picks. I wonder.
Oh.
Let's find out what happens.
Yeah.
So let's say that let's say we were in our picks controller, and let's say that we're doing a new action here.
And I have to interrupt and comment on your tools and things like that.
Sure.
Vim just straight in the terminal.
Oh yeah. I like Vim. I've been using it for whatever 10 years. I just don't have a lot of patience for clicking around with the mouse, and I really like that. I feel like I can just do a lot more faster with Vim. I really like how I can jump around, and I really like movement commands and stuff like that. I also like that I'm in a shell. I really like that I can just drop here and
Okay, so you do like Control Z
and
suspend,
like look
or-
at something. Yeah, I totally just do Control Z, and I can like look at whatever or like try to figure something out or whatever I need to do.
Still in IRB.
Oh, I'm still in the IRB. Okay, now I'm out. And then go back to where I was. So I like that about it a lot. And then I also just like mentally I have these two things I'm flipping between. I have my terminal and I have Chrome, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like
simplifies
it's just it's just where I ended up going with how I got used to things.
We've seen other programmers use this technique, but it's worth explaining. Ryan frequently switches between the Vim text editor and the command line in the same window. He hits Ctrl-Z to pause Vim. This takes him to the command line. When he's ready to activate Vim again, he hits FG to bring it to the foreground. It's a quick way to move between the two programs in a single window.
So I've got a new action on the Pix controller. What I want to do right now is I emulate Kent Beck in this way. I don't trust myself to do anything right, so I will check every assumption. So I'm expecting right now that if I actually we declared a route and I said def new in the Pix controller. I'm expecting that if I hit the Pix/new URL, that I'm going to get a no template found error. And I want to actually, I don't want to go further and actually start working on the template, because I want to get that no template found error first.
Okay.
Otherwise I have like 3 different things I've assumed piled on top of each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I hit the template to look at what I coded, I want to only be thinking about, did I code the right thing or not? I don't want to be thinking about, is my route working or not, or whatever. So I want those tests to sort of pass first, So I'm going to just go to Pix new and template missing.
There we go.
Good. Okay. So that passed. Right. So now if I go into, I can do new, and now, I'm going to see that my template is working. I should see foo there. It's weird how slow this is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a template in here, and that's good. So I'm trying to think about, what am I actually showing here? On this really comes to the point where I'm confused about what this parent template is. I feel like what I want to be seeing here is, I want to be seeing something like this on top for this block.
Uh-huh.
And I want to be seeing something like, I'm actually going to do that. Something like that for below. That's how I'm thinking about it right now. I don't like to sort of extract early or whatever. So this I just shared that with you to show you where my brain is at. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these things inline with the intention to move them there after if they work.
Okay.
So I'm going to do something like these are my picks and these are my candidates. And my picks, there's going to be each one of them is going to be a pick. And I'm thinking of it in terms of a pick can sort of be, it can either be blank or it can have a value. But I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. I'm going to just try and make one right now. Pick. And each pick is going to have a number, and it's going to have this kind of content in it. But I've been imagining it like some kind of element, and then inside of that is a number, and then when it has a value, that value will get plugged into it. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but that's kind of what I've been imagining. So I'm actually going to think that the pick itself is this sort of container.
All right.
And I'm going to give that a border. Like I'll just do. I don't even know what it's going to be. So I don't care. I'm just going to pick something arbitrary. I'm going to give it a border radius. I'll give it some internal padding, and I'm just going to say number 1 inside of there, and let's see what we have. Cool, it worked. Ta-da! Not bad. That's a pick. That could maybe have some value, like there could be it could have stuff in it. But it doesn't yet, it's blank. And then I could have, I've never tried to do this before. Can I actually do something like 5 times do?
Yeah.
But what would my, I don't actually need some kind of, what would I have? Would this tell me which time I'm on?
Well, you could do like one dot up to 5 if you need to know.
Oh yeah,
value.
Totally. Yeah, I could totally do that. I could do like 1 to 5 each do number.
Yeah, or even 1 dot up to parentheses 5, either works.
And then here I'll just do number. Oh, that didn't work. No, did I not do this right?
What is that? I always forget if it's like, do you need parentheses instead of square brackets?
What was the, screw it. We don't have, I'm not interested in doing things cleanly. I just want them to work at this point, you know what I mean?
That works, yeah.
All I want to do is, I want to make, the reason I'm doing this is not because I like using Ruby unnecessarily. The reason I'm doing this is because when I set margin on these things, I need to see more than one
Exactly.
to do that, and I don't want to screw around retyping the margin over and over, you know?
Yep.
So if I say like these should have a little bit of margin bottom on them, I can start to see, oh, okay, that's how it's going to work, right? I don't love all the noise. See how this these double lines and everything,
Uh-huh.
you know? So that's detracting me from the border. I think instead of that, I'll just do like a background, and let's just see if, something like that could work. For some reason, I had it in my mind when we were working on this that it was going to be a dark background. I don't know why. I don't know if I have some weird random association with fantasy leagues or something, or what it is, but I was just imagining that the background would be black. I'm actually going to go into my, I'm going to make a general, I can never remember if it's, I think it's css.scss is how it works now.
And colon SP, is that like a plugin, or is that just...
Oh, that's default Vim behavior. That's just to split a
Okay.
window.
Ah, okay. Split and make a new file. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah, split and yeah, I just give it the file that I want, and if it's a new file, it'll touch it for me, or it'll create a buffer for it, and then when I write it, it'll create it.
Right. Okay.
There's also VSP for vertical split.
Other way.
Yeah. This I think actually this could be cool style-wise to do the whole black thing, but I'm realizing that my all the apps that I do and all the stuff I do is always on white, and my sort of quick mental patterns for how to like make things pop and make things fade back and everything, I would have to screw around quite a bit to make them work reversed out. So I'm seeing this and I'm seeing like, I don't know how to make this work in a fast way. So I'm gonna flip back.
So that's kind of the lizard brain thing you were talking about.
Exactly.
You had
Like
to
I'm
see
seeing
it
like,
visually.
there's stuff optically going on here that I don't have fast available patterns to fix. You know? Like if I make this white to make it pop more, like, you know, I mean, I could screw around a little bit. Like maybe I need to be darker on this so it's closer to the background. You know what I mean? Like closer there, and then if I do the white for the inside of that, it'll pop. But you see what I mean? Like it's quite intense with the contrasts,
Right.
and it's not quickly coming together. So it shows that I don't know what I'm doing. So since I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to stop doing that. If I really cared about this black background thing, then this would be a fun exploration for me to learn how to style something dark. But I don't know how, you know, it's for us trying to use our time well right now, it doesn't fit. So I'm going to go the opposite route. I'm going to make this lighter than it was before, and go back there because that's something I can deal with. Good. Okay. So I would like to be in a different font family here. I'm just going to use Lucida because it's familiar to me, and those colons are bothering me, and that number sign is bothering me. Whoops. And what are these things? These are somehow your picks. You know, it's just a person. It's not like a essay question or something, you know, and this is so long. And I would like it to feel tidy. You know, like I would like your picks to be this nice little tidy, like boom, 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 a little bit like we've been drawing, this roughly square proportion. I don't know what I'm going to want in terms of proportion for the whole thing down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a container class right here, and I'm going to give it some arbitrary width. I'm going to center it, and then I'm going to go into my layout. Here's where I'm yielding. And I'm just going to put the container there around it, you know. And it's a bit tighter. I actually wonder if I could just start narrower because I don't... Yeah, that feels a little bit better. I think you can imagine how we could spend a really long time monkeying around just with style for this. And I don't feel like we're going to learn a lot by doing that. So I'm going to actually move down to the candidates list, and then we'll cycle back.
All right.
You know, I feel satisfied that this is like reflecting kind of where I wanted to go. Maybe I would like to just have a little bit more padding on this. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted it to feel a little bit fatter. I think we could actually do a little bit more, a little more corner radius. That's good. I haven't touched the question of how to deal with this blank slate yet. I think I can answer that question better in Photoshop, which actually, why don't we just do that?
It was interesting when, I mean, I think definitely 37 Signals was one of the places I first saw that used and started really thinking about the blank slate. But then when I was developing applications, it was like, okay, step one, I need a picture of the blank slate, but that's often a picture of the completed application. So then you kind of have to wait for that until you're all done, and then you take a screenshot and come back.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of different angles I could take on this. I could design the state where you have one or two chosen already. That would actually be maybe interesting, but I don't like that. If I design a little bit like I mentioned before, that if I design the state where like 1, 3, 4, 5 are empty and 2 is occupied, I don't know how I got to that state yet. I'm a little worried about how do I get to that state still, because the blank slate thing is a question. So that does motivate me a little bit more to figure that out. But what I'm going to do is, let's do this. Let's jump down to the candidate riders, and let's render those, and then we'll have sort of these two big pieces, that I was mentioning, and then we can start to flesh around them and see if this is actually going to work or not. Wouldn't it be funny if it didn't work at all after all this time talking about it? Right?
That's how you find out.
that would be something. It happens like that. So I have this list of candidates down here, and I'll just say, I don't like this language, but I want to say what it is. So I'm just going to call it something. And I'm going to design a rider, I guess. But I keep coming back. For some reason, I don't like calling these riders because of the fact that they have behavior that riders don't have. That's why I keep coming back to this word candidate. Because a rider, we can't change the state of a rider unless they file with the government and change their name, or they get plastic surgery or something like that, But we can change the state of a candidate with respect to a user. You know what I mean? Like a rider, I don't really like the idea that the rider's state is changing. Like the rider could be picked or not picked. I don't like that for some reason. I think it'll bear through because, for example, if I want to render a list of riders, a canonical list of riders would not have pick controls on them. It would be something more like what I think an admin would see who is deciding who are the possible people that could be picked.
Right.
I would like a way to say riders index and have it mean these are the riders without any extra behavior dangling off of them. Yeah. So that's sort of why I'm going toward candidates. I could very well change my mind later, and it's a little bit smelly. I like it when I'm using the same language in the UI and in the section.
Oh, okay.
It would feel really clean to me if I was doing this, So you feel me flip flopping? I don't know which one's better. I'm gonna maybe I'll start with the most tangible thing to start, and then later on we can easily rename if we don't like it later. I'm not sold one way or the other. So each rider is going to have some stuff, right? It's going to have an avatar, it's going to have a country, and it's going to have a name. Let's do an avatar for it. I don't know, I guess I'll just have some image like that for it. And then I'll have some, I guess I'll have some country flag there. And then we'll have the rider's first name and last name. Do you have a good name for me to use?
Cadel Evans just won the Tour de France. He could be one of their...
How do you spell it?
Cadel. Last name Evans. Yeah.
Good, okay. That should give me a rider. There he is. Good, okay. I would like to... I have this sort of model that's implicit in the design that these things can go here. And then if you were to remove it from here, it would go back here. Which, if that's the case, then that kind of makes me want to give them the same form. You know what I mean? Like, if these things can be here, then they should kind of look like something that can be here.
Okay.
So it kind of compels me to style this in the same way. It's interesting because this is a point where you could make an argument for extracting this, because if I have to change this twice, it's going to kind of suck. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. But when I actually have that problem, I'll do that.
The flip side is that if we need to change that CSS class from riders and rider, then you don't have to go hunt down a CSS file as well.
Right.
You're just writing the markup.
Yeah, if it turns out that I actually want it to be different than this, and it's going to be really easy for me to change the inline style right now, and then I'll wait. There's going to be a time where I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to think, yuck. you know, that should be extracted because it's really the same thing. Like but I don't know what the abstraction is. Is it like slot? And these are all potential slots and these are like filled slots, or I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what the abstraction is, so I don't even know what I would call it right now. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And it would be nice to have an avatar. And let's see if maybe we can get a picture of his face from Google. That's him.
There he is.
We should pick. He should look like he's riding. Maybe this is good. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just going to copy that, and I'll jump into Photoshop. I want it to be square. So I'm just going to make it square.
Launching applications, I say you're using search...
Spotlight?
Spotlight.
Yeah, I'm in the habit of using LaunchBar, and since this is the loaner computer while Apple fixes my Air, I didn't bother to install it because Spotlight just started working basically the same, and it's been pretty much good enough. The one thing I like about LaunchBar is that I can, it will scan my bookmarks, and I can put stuff in my bookmark menu and then treat those things as applications.
Okay.
And I found that Spotlight isn't very good at that. So I could like take my backpack calendar, make it a bookmark in my Safari menu as calendar, and then I'll be able to just command space to autocomplete cal, and it'll take me to my calendar. And it's the only thing that Spotlight doesn't seem to be doing for me. So I'm still using it for that.
Okay.
So here's an avatar. I don't know what size I want it to be, so I mean, like, I'll just size it in the browser, you know? And I want to be here, and I think I called it Rider Avatar. And I'm going to expect an image to appear there, right?
There we go.
I guess I'll just I'll just tell this to be some arbitrary width. I don't know what width it should be. I'm just going to tell it some width and see.
You must be running Ruby 190's style
Oh yeah.
for hash.
Yep. Seems okay.
Works.
Where's he from?
Australia.
Oh, okay. This is probably a good flag to use because I'm going to get a sense of how small I can go and still have the detail, you know. This one I could just save it exactly as it is, I guess. Yeah, I guess I can do that. What format is it? It's a GIF. Yeah, whatever. It'll work. I'm not used to doing this. This is new. To actually just save the image directly. I feel like I'm at the Apple Store learning how to use a Mac. I'll put that in images, and I'll call that country flag. And in theory, that worked. So let me just change this to GIF. Sweet.
There we go.
Looks great. Okay. I don't know. Let's give it the same width and see what it looks like. It's funny how this seemed reasonable when I sketched it. I don't know where that was. Doing the avatar. Yeah. This kind of looked good when I sketched it. And in practice, I don't know if I like sort of interrupting. It's such a pattern to have avatar name. And I don't know if I like kind of interrupting that with the country flag in between the two. You know, it looks a little awkward. One thing that's for sure awkward about it is the vertical alignment. So I could at least I'm just going to do it like this because this vertical alignment, I never quite know how it works. But this method seems to work when I don't care about wrapping. I'm just going to set the line height of the container to be the same as the tallest element that I want to align to. I don't know if that's bad style or not, but I think it'll work for me for my needs right now. Yeah, it does. I don't really like the name flag in the middle thing, so I'm going to try putting the flag at the start I don't love that either. Maybe.
This is great because it looked great. It looked nice here.
It's a great
but
example
then-
of how you can't believe in this stuff.
Yep.
You know? And how important it is to talk through it in terms of what function it's fulfilling. You know? We didn't really spend a lot of time discussing this order because the thing we were interested in is how does this fulfill a function as being a member of a collection? And you can pick this member, and then where is it going to move in that capacity? Now we're into details that were sort of out of the scope of this design work. It's interesting how I don't know what to do for this, for a good solution. One thing I could do is I could say that I don't care about the flag as much at the start, and that maybe actually I have something like maybe I have like a sort of country block, and actually say where they're from, because a lot of people don't even know it. I mean, if it's not your flag, how many flags do you know? I don't know that many. You know, I know a few, but I mean, I don't know them all. So I wonder if I actually like floated right some little country thing, and I made it little, and I made it gray, and I don't know, what would that be like?
Ah.
It's not bad. I don't know how I feel about it, but I kind of like. I don't love it, but I kind of like that this is a scan line. You know, I could, if I had 20 of these, you know, I could just run my eye down the countries until I saw Italy, if that's what I would care about.
Uh-huh.
You know, so that's something. I'm just going to give this. Little spacing on the left. I don't know, whatever, something. And I'm already at a point now where I want to be seeing more of these. If we were not racing through this to do a demo, you know, I would probably actually do this as a mock. I mean, sometimes I'll make in the controller. I don't care about that stuff right now. In the Pix controller, I can actually do something like riders equals, and then I could just make some struct that has like avatar, first name, last name, and the values of avatar are all just images that I make, you know, and the values of country. And then I would actually be able to simulate having some stuff in the database without going through the work of doing that. I've definitely done that sometimes, but I don't really want to take a 10-minute detour right now when we're in a hurry together. So we're going to sacrifice and look at the same thing repeated, which I really don't like to do very much. But now might be a good time to figure out what I was trying to do before, right? Remember I compromised and just did that? You were saying something like up to? Does that give me a range?
Well, here you're not going to need the number, I don't think.
I just want to do this 20 times.
Yeah, so 1 dot up to, and then I think it's just no underscore.
Up to 20?
And then 20, yeah.
And then can I actually just iterate over that? Or I do. Uh-huh.
And you don't even need a period.
Oh, right, of course, yeah. Do. And then, do I have to tell it what I'm working with, or?
No, because we're not going to use that.
Oh, yeah, so it doesn't,
values,
so I don't have to do that. Nice, okay. Great. Cool, okay.
And I like that. Did you use Vim's auto indent to indent all that, or did you say go in 2 spaces, or how do you prefer to do that?
I haven't figured out how to make Vim's auto indent really work for how I want, and I've never had the patience to screw around and really figure it out because my fingers are fast enough that it doesn't hold me up. What I did in that case, I think I ended up being in a state that looked like that.
Yep.
And I just grabbed those and I just indented them together as a group.
Okay.
It's weirdly, the indent sometimes work and sometimes doesn't. Like I think it might work like that.
Just when you type something.
You know, but somehow with the ERB and stuff, it doesn't work. So interesting. Okay, so I did that, and I was only thinking about how to get this country in there, but this is funny because we were talking about putting a control on the right side.
I just saw the same thing, right? Yeah.
let's try putting a control on the right side and see, I don't know if it's going to be a problem or not. If I have some kind of divider and then I have a control, like, is that going to be fine? Maybe. I don't know. So I'm actually going to do like, I'm just going to make another span here that's going to go on the right. And I'm also going to float this one right. And I'm curious, actually, if I put a left border on that, if that's going to use line height to fill the line height or what. I don't actually know what's going to happen there. So I'm just going to give it a left border that's black and obvious. And I'm just going to test to see. Yeah, it does actually use the line height like that. So, so I could perhaps do something light, give it some left margin, give it some left padding, and then do an action there. I'm starting to not like how. Is that how button works? Whoa. What happened there?
I didn't know if you could even do that. Made the entire thing into a button.
How does button work like that? That's how button works. Yep. Okay. I don't really want it to be a button, but I don't know. I'm trying to find some fast way to see something that looks like a button because I'm thinking of it as being an action. I'm kind of repeating my thought process. I had, we talked about making it a pull down, wherever that, we talked about making it a pull down up here, but I don't know if that's what I want. So I want to see what it looks like as a button. That's why I'm doing it as a button. I'm going to see if I can just bump up the font size on here and say, pick this. I just want to get a feeling for like, what does it feel like to have an action on the side here, and I'm not really liking this here. I'm not liking that. I don't care what the action is. I'm concerned about the conflict between the country and the action.
Right.
That's why I stubbed the action instead of building out a proper pull down. If I get happy with this, then I'll get into details on making that do the right thing. Maybe this is what I want. I'm starting to not mind that as much. I don't love it, but maybe it's okay. Maybe I can do a little right margin on that. Maybe, can I do this? Will this work? Yeah, that kind of works. That's not terrible. You can see how my line height trick is biting me though.
Okay.
So I might have to figure out how to actually do this line height thing properly. But for now, I guess I have to figure that out now actually. I didn't want to, but I feel like that's going to be good enough. Oh, interesting. I didn't expect that to still work. Cool. Line height, I tell you, it mystifies me. Totally mystifies me. I think that has promise. But now, so it's funny, I put this border in because I wanted to differentiate from this other thing that was next to it, but now I don't feel like that's necessary. I don't care about that border anymore. So I'm going to kill that, and then I also don't care about differentiating margin and padding because I don't have that. I actually don't even care about margin anyway because I don't have anything to the side. And let's change this to a select. I guess we'll do that again. And let's do... I don't like this. I would like to have I would like to have good language for that. Interesting how is this font size not actually getting bigger? Oh, it is. Okay.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. Here's a case too where I'm running into vertical alignment is not quite what I wanted to do again. But I don't care about doing the right thing right now. I care about finding what the right thing is, and then I can replace the good interface with a better implementation later. So I'm actually just going to put top margin on this to move it down. Does that work? Yeah, it's working. So like this is not the right thing to do, but like I don't care because I'm trying to get the. Have you ever seen these TDD screencasts that Kent Beck did? By the way.
Oh yeah, from Pragmatic.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it is he does this dirty stuff all the time.
Okay.
He'll just write a method, and the method will be like if, and he'll like tell it exactly the input that he's giving it, and it wouldn't work for any other input, because he wants the test to pass. He doesn't care about passing for all cases. It's better to like quickly have it working and seeing that it was what you wanted, and then make the implementation cover better cases or whatever, make it a better implementation. Then that really inspired me about his example. He also does that in his book TDD by example, over and over again. He does something that you're like, oh, you can't do that, some hacky, ugly thing, but it gives him the result immediately. And then like now I know if it looks good in the middle or not. If I had spent 5 minutes or whatever screwing around, or even just the mental effort of trying to figure out how to get my line height to do what I want it to do when I don't really understand line height, vertical centering is the issue, then I might go through all that work and then find out I didn't even like it centered anyway, So that's why I'll do hacky stuff like this all the time. Like I'll just give it some top margin and then see if it looks how I want it to look. And then when it's a problem, it'll be a problem and I'll improve it, I'm going to extract these styles out anyway into some style sheet, and I'll do the right thing at that time.
That's starting to make sense. So it's almost a feature that you're using inline styles because most of that CSS may just get rewritten anyway.
Yeah, I would call it premature extraction if I were putting these styles into a style sheet right now. I don't know that these things. It's a little bit like if you're writing a method and you had to do a calculation. And you write this like kind of long method that's like 10 lines to calculate how to move the date in a certain way. And then you read that method after you write it. It works and you're happy it works, but then you read it and you're like, man, I'm never going to be able to I'm going to have to imperatively run that in my brain in order to know how it's working. So then you factor it out into a few smaller methods and then it's easier to read and stuff like that. So this is the exact same principle that start with a mess, an easily manipulated mess, right? And then when I realize that it's what I want, then I'll start extracting.
Makes sense.
We can do 3, 4, 5, third, fourth, fifth. So this was like what we were talking about doing.
Right.
What do we think?
The repetition of make.
Yeah,
seems, you kind of have to scan through and to see what you're looking for is in the middle of the column.
Yeah, I don't love that. Is it good enough that I feel like I can move on, is what I'm asking myself. And I feel like it has promise. Because I also don't feel like the pull down is the right way to build this. What I would really like to do is actually build this in JavaScript so that it's a really nice looking button. And then when it opens up, I have I can actually style with HTML each one of these sub buttons.
Okay.
And you see how they have the same basic form as there. That I have a kind of action, and then when I click that action, it's going to give me a menu. And then I pick the one that I want. A pull down happens to afford me that stuff in a cheap way.
Yeah.
But it's not that I think that the pull down is the right solution. It's more that it's affording me this sort of certain kind of way to get at a handful of options and then choose the one option and then have a result happen.
Yep.
So I see this as a sort of it's a little bit like a refactoring. How I'm going to be able to swap out this pull down with a nicely designed sort of JavaScript thing. And then when I have more options than just using words, then I can really emphasize 1, 2, 3. Or I think I can solve that problem better, but I don't think I can solve that problem very well with the pull down, within the constraints of a pull down. And I don't want to go deeper right now.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it right now. So I feel like this might be good enough to roll with. So let's say I did that. What would happen then? I would get this state where this got replaced with you made this person your third pick. There'd be a link to go up to here, and then I would see him here.
Yep.
I think that's all going to work out. Since we're trying to keep kind of moving through, I'm going to come back to this blank slate question for a second.
Okay.
And then I've got one other thing that I think I want to touch on, and then
Okay.
and then
Then
maybe
we wrap it up.
Then we can wrap it up. I don't know how the right way to handle this blank slate is. So I'm just going to take a screenshot and go to Photoshop. Here's our man. And one thing I could do is, of course, I could have this text in here that says, choose a, wow, what is, a little beach ball action here. Interesting. Okay. We could do one thing that we talked about, which was choose a rider below. But this I could have actually done in the HTML. Actually, screw it, let's do it there. Right, that's easy.
But that's interesting. You'll move between Photoshop and HTML to whatever.
Yeah, Photoshop is just a tool, just like the sketching is, to remove doubt about an idea. Except in the case of something like cropping an avatar, where I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I have to go into a graphics tool to actually make a square crop.
Right.
But you know what I'm doing right now. The reason I went to Photoshop is because I wanted to see something, and I realized that what I want to see, I can see easier here. So I'm actually going to just. I mean, I can do this so quickly that like, who cares, right? You know, like if I can do that fast, and then I don't have to like do finicky dragging stuff around and copying layers and whatever. And dealing with text in Photoshop is not pleasant anyway. So let's go back up to 12 on that. That's actually not bothering me as much as I thought it would.
Especially because 5 is few enough that it doesn't feel too repetitive.
Yeah, I mean, it is repetitive,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, that's what it is. They're 5 picks, you know? And it's a little bit like for each of these, choose a rider. I don't mind that, actually. I'm surprised. You know, because the other thing I was going to try was I was going to try having some kind of overlay here, right? That says like to make your picks choose a rider below, and then I was going to, you know, somehow make that big. And the reason I'm in Photoshop is because I don't know how to easily overlay text over all these elements without doing some funny absolute positioning nonsense or whatever, you know.
Right.
So I was thinking, okay, well, what if I had some kind of like bold message here that was sort of somehow overlaying all of this, you know, and then it had maybe there was some kind of element underneath it that was like, you know, I don't know, you know what I mean, like something like this, which I have to say does have some merits, because when I hit the screen, it's like bam, like it's telling me what to do, and when I hit this screen, there's actually no instruction to me that says you are here and now this is your first order of business.
The other kind of screams at you, this you have to hunt to find.
Right. So actually I have to say I like this better. we went through, but this is the value of being able to mock things quickly. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't make this decision without trying it, and I tried this and it was better than I thought it would be. But it wasn't so good that I thought, oh, that's beautiful, awesome. I don't even want to look at Photoshop again. You know, I somehow I got to doing this, and I like it.
Yeah,
I like it better. So now, of course, I need to implement this somehow in here, and I don't know a good way to implement this because this is not the sort of thing that I usually do in HTML. It's not normal to really overlay an element like that. But I know a fast way to do it that will be dirty, that will probably work fine. So that's what we'll do. I'm just going to, I'll make a little panel for this, which is like, I'll call it the blank slate overlay. You might notice that I'm giving things names even though I'm not using the names yet.
Okay.
Like, I don't need a class here.
You're right.
In order to inline style. See, because part of the thought process is I'm saying what this thing is. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is what semantic HTML is about. It's not about, like, being able to have different devices and accessibility and stuff like that, even though those things are nice, it's about the fact that I can like reveal my intention by, this is a little bit like a method name or something.
Yep.
You know, I can say this is what this block is, and that makes it really easy to reason about all the pieces.
Uh-huh.
You know, so my blank slate overlay is going to have this this text that I cooked up here, and that's it, right? So like I guess it's going to be big. I wonder what size I used. I don't always know if the sizes correspond, but that was like 35. So let's just do, I don't know why, I'm just going to pick 34. And let's make it bold. And let's center that text within whatever container it's in. And let's see what we've got. Do I have something to work with? I do. Great. Okay. I actually do care about the fact that the break happens after the comma in this case. Usually I would prefer to make the container determine the wrapping. But right now, it doesn't feel really so nice. Well, should I do it? Maybe I'll do it. Nah, screw it. I don't like specifying the break, because then if we get into situations where we want different behavior at different widths and everything, then I don't know if I'm going to want that break to be there. So normally I would prefer to set a width and then have it wrap because of the width. But it's a little bit like a premature optimization to say that I'm going to care about different widths and everything, and I know that I want it to look like this, so I'm just going to put the break there right now.
I think in HTML5 there's like a discretionary break or something where it might be
Oh,
halfway
really?
to that.
Oh, okay. That'd be awesome. That's exactly like what I have in mind. Okay, and I want this container to... I gave it this sort of like background thing, right?
Uh-huh.
How did I do that? I actually did it with opacity, but if I give the background opacity, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to recreate this exactly. Let me just start by giving it a flat background and see if it looks good enough or not. Oops. What color is this? B. Okay.
Or you could use like RGBA or to specify the color.
The thing,
Give it
but
color with opacity.
oh, because you can give it an alpha.
Yeah.
Ah. Do you know how to do that? Can you teach me how to do that?
I think it's just RGBA parentheses.
Like
and
that?
then yeah. And then
And then I could just go in Photoshop maybe to figure out what. Well, okay, so before the alpha, this was 60, and how much of an alpha did I give it? I gave it an alpha of, it's at 30%. And what is 60 in terms of RGB? 109. Okay, so I guess I'm at what, 109, 109, 109. And is the alpha the percentage of opacity or transparency? I guess we'll find out. Easy answer, right? Run the test.
Yeah. And I forget if it's a float or if you do 30%, but
Oh, if it's actually a percent sign?
yeah, I don't know. Is that making a difference? So apparently not.
Can we learn? How quickly can we learn? Oh, it's a decimal.
Okay, that was the other.
That looks like it's transparent. Okay. Okay, good. I want this to be this wide, I guess. I'll just do it in pixels for now. I'd like to have an info palette. I don't know where it is. Oh, this Photoshop isn't set up. I just needed to tell me to use pixels. Will that work? Good. 400. Okay. Let's make this 400. Is it 400 now? Good. It's 400. I actually think the font size is maybe a bit big. Not bad. Okay, and then I'll just give it some padding on the top and bottom because I don't know, because I want it to be something like that. Actually, font size could go bigger again. Not bad. A little wider than 400. Okay, and now I'll just position this absolutely, I guess. And I'll position that relative to the Pix container. But that's not what I want. I want to position it relative to this cluster. Which, it's often unclear which is the better pattern. If it's better to actually tightly wrap the collection with the plural name, like if it's better to have div class equals picks and then div pick, div pick, div pick, div pick, or div class equals picks and then anything kind of related to this collection that we're rendering, like, because I could do this. I could do h2 your picks and then div picks underneath. And then the benefit is that this refers strictly to this collection
Right.
and nothing else. But the downside is then I don't have a way to say when I render a headline inside of the picks section. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So there's a little bit of lacking expressiveness in HTML as far as that goes. We've been experimenting lately with sometimes using section and article, where section very literally means I'm thinking of this as a wrapper on a collection, and article being a member of a collection, but it hasn't resolved into a clear pattern yet. What I'm going to do right now, because I prefer to think of this section as being the picks section,
Right.
I'm going to introduce an extra container. The reason I talked through all that is because I don't like to introduce extra containers unless there's a good reason to.
Okay.
So I'm going to actually introduce an extra container now that says position relative around this collection. And then inside of that position relative, I'm going to render this blank slate overlay. So then that it has something to be absolute to.
That
right?
works.
And then I guess we'll just say top 0. I don't know how to do middle. I don't know if that's possible. Since I don't know, and I'm just trying to get this thing proven, right? I'm trying to get the test passing. I'm not gonna solve that problem. I can just come up with some value and see what works. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'll treat it as a refactoring. That I would like that to actually be centered in all the correct ways. That's just going to be refactoring. I like that. I think it works.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Because it's super obvious.
I know
where
exactly
you-
what I know. Like, bam, I'm supposed to go down here, and then I see it's cool too because it says to make your picks, choose your rider below, and then right here it's saying make a pick. So we're connecting the dots really tightly.
And now we're back to the before, the now, and the after.
Right. Yeah. We can see the process and reason about the different steps in the process. So we can keep going or we can stop. I mean, the next step would be I can look at this. What happens when you choose one of these? The other thing we could look at, maybe this is more interesting because I think we can kind of visualize how this would work now.
Yeah.
Right. One thing we talked about in the beginning was like how it would be nice to autocomplete. Like, you know who your guy is, right?
Uh-huh.
So, is there a way that this design could support that activity? You know?
I was interested that, or maybe related, searching through the list. Like
Right.
right now we're just doing a visual search.
Right.
Can you narrow down that
Exactly.
list?
So that's exactly what I was just thinking, that we
Okay.
could do below this riders to choose from and above the actual set of members, we could do a live filter, which is behaviorally the same as autocomplete, basically. You know what I mean? It's just that you don't really select the winner and then hit enter or something. It's like you operate out of this filtered group and then you clear your filter. So that sounds compelling. Let's just put a filter in there and then see how it looks.
Yeah, and that could be it.
So let's see. This is my riders section. I want to be inside of that. I want to be above this collection of riders. This is another interesting case where I feel like, maybe I should have this div which is like around the collection because I want to say like that the whole collection should have some margin away from the filter, right?
Uh-huh.
It's this thing I always go back and forth between. Is this riders or is this riders or what? I don't know.
It's nice to see it as kind of an outline that includes everything related to that.
Right. Maybe this would be an appropriate use of the section tag. This is new territory because, section tag is relatively new. But I could do this. This is the picks section. Here I'm just going to have div.picks, and I'm going to have it in my mind that div.picks is somehow canonical, meaning like this is a collection and only a collection. We can try that and see how it feels. So then here what I could do is I have section class equals riders. I can put this in div class riders. Maybe. I don't know. This is how we find out just by trying things, right?
Right.
We don't really have good conventions for this yet. And I just want to make sure that everything still renders fine. It does, good. Got to make sure that test still passes.
Yeah.
So it's actually before I list the riders and after I have the riders header. That's why I wanted to have this div here, is because I want to feel like I'm working in a kind of safe space between known things. I kind of wanted to feel like this collection is encapsulated.
Yep.
And I have a way to say as a collection it has these properties. And the only way I can say as a collection it has these properties is to give it a parent div. This one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could almost be an unordered list, or
It could actually be an unordered list, but I don't. I avoid using those as much as possible.
Okay.
Because I like it. Unordered list has some semantics that I'm carrying along that I don't really want to lean on. First of all, I think the whole semantics of unordered list has problems because if I actually am going to render, I'm going to decide on a proper order to render this based on what I think is going to be the most reasonable for people to find the person they're looking for.
Uh-huh.
If I'm making a decision about the order, the list is ordered, not unordered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if I use an OL, I feel like I'm pulling along too much baggage. Like it wants to render these numbers and everything.
Yeah.
And then I have to tell it, no, don't do any of that. That's not really what I want. So it doesn't feel really fitting for me in terms of the semantics to use either of those. So that's why I would rather think that, okay, I'm just going to use some idiomatics. Like at 37 we have sort of idioms for how we deal with these situations, and one of them is a div for the collection and div for the members, and they use the Rails convention of the singular and the plural, and they're together. So when I see this, I see the idiom, and then that's enough for me.
Yep.
Because now I have a safe space in between, so I can just put an input here, I guess it's a text, right? And we could do, I think HTML5 actually has a placeholder feature built in, but I don't know how to do it.
Just placeholder equals whatever value.
Is it an attribute of the input? Like
Yep.
here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool, it exists. I don't know. I'm just gonna set some stuff on it. I don't know what it should be. Oops. Weird. I want it to be a lot bigger than that, actually. Yeah, that's a little better, maybe. How wide do I want this to be? I much prefer to just change numbers and then reload. If I really had some design elements going on and it was more fine tuning, this is a really good time to go into Photoshop again, where I can kill what I had. Notice that I just deleted the thing that we used to mock that before because now it's built.
Right.
And this is a nice time where I can just grab stuff like this and I can say how much space should I actually have there?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, would this be better if it was actually wider? Like, how much wider should it be? And should it, actually, should it be here? Or, okay, I think, you know what I mean? And then make those decisions. And then when I have those decisions, then I could go in and I could just make some measurements, like how much did I go there and how much did I go here, and then implement that and then close the Photoshop file again.
Did you see that? How did he make the text input twice as wide? Neither of us at PeepCode knew, so we experimented and figured it out. Here's how. Make a selection in Photoshop with the Marquee tool. You'll probably be most interested in one side of the rectangle. Now hold Command, Option, and Shift on the keyboard. Finally, tap the right arrow key to move the selection to the right. This will repeat any content on the left edge, that is the trailing edge, of the selection. This works in all directions, up, down, left, and right. It's a powerful prototyping trick.
That's a pretty common pattern.
So it's finding the tool that's fast enough and specific enough for what you are trying to figure out.
Yeah, what is the tool that I need to express the experiment? kind of, you know what I mean? It's the fastest way to run the test, you know. And sometimes it's Photoshop, sometimes it's paper, you know, sometimes it's HTML. I think we've seen all those examples together today, which is kind of cool, actually. Good. I could put some top margin on riders, but I feel like the fact that more space is needed is actually a consequence of the filter, so I want to put that on the filter. This is a little bit like deciding where things belong, you know, like what concern does it belong to? I'm going to name this as a concern. I'm going to say that this is my div class equals filter, and I'm going to give it bottom margin. I think it's the job of the filter to kind of say, I'm here, push these things down. That's what that H2 is already doing.
Yep.
You know, so that feels somehow natural. That might, I don't like that.
All of it disappears once you...
Yeah. I wish the placeholder in HTML operated the way that, you know, Apple's done this on a few things where you have this placeholder where you click in and then the placeholder remains until you start typing.
Yes.
You know, I wish that was some easy default behavior. I'm sure there's plugins for it, but it's like, it seems so heavyweight to use a plugin for something like that. That's dissuading me from using the placeholder. I don't like that.
Oh, so it becomes a label now.
Yeah. You know, this is not legit anymore, is it? Didn't it used to be that you could do this and then you would for free get the behavior where you click here and then I heard somehow that this is being deprecated or something, or you're not supposed to do it. I don't remember.
Oh, wrapping an input in a label?
Yeah, that somehow you're supposed to actually say, like, this is the form that I care about. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong about that. I don't like how this looks as nearly as much, which is kind of interesting. Before it was like this tight riders to choose from, and then like boom, box, and then like, you know?
Right.
Right, like this. That was so much tighter visually.
Yep.
And now I feel a little bit like my eyes going like, you know, it's
a little zigzag.
Yeah, I don't like that about it. So I'm wondering, what can I do to fix that? One thing I could do to fix it would be to kind of turn it into a container so that my eye can treat it as a container and then skip past it. So this is proving how it was good that I already had a container on it, you know, because again, I'm needing that. So maybe if I had, I don't know, 4 pixels of top and bottom margin, and what if I had a border on top and a border on bottom, you know? Oops. Take me back to top and bottom. You know what I mean? Like, would it help me if it was a sort of, like, more like a unit, you know? Would it help me if this text box was always flush right? I wonder if that would help. But if I do that, I wonder if this is going to do what I want. Yeah, it does do what I want. I don't like that either. I don't know. This is the thing I would spend some time on to figure out how to solve. I think in terms of briefly expressing our intention with the feature, you know, like if I were to, I would like to get working with a programmer as quickly as possible on this. It expresses my intention when I have this filter by name or country. That expresses my intention, and a programmer could hook that up, and there are things like this where they are the conflict is somehow scoped, where it doesn't really affect your decisions above and below, you know? It's somehow contained in this region, and I know that I can continually monkey with it for weeks.
Yep.
And I know that it's not going to affect my plans for implementation, and it's not going to bleed out into other design decisions too much. So I'm comfortable going with this even though I don't like that about it.
Right.
Knowing that I have options and it's a locally contained problem. And it's the sort of thing that every fourth day that we're working on the project, I'll have a different maybe I'll try this on that. And then, did it get better? No? Okay, maybe leave it alone for a while. Some things are like that. And then, okay, so then if we were filtering here, what we could do is just, you know what I mean? Limit this to 3 or 4 or 5 that match.
Uh-huh.
And then we can have a link in the filtered state, which is like, show me all.
Okay, to reset.
Right here, to reset. and I think that would be adequate.